Let's go!
Well, I found you in the wreckage of that ship. I considered leaving you. I was afraid you could bring trouble to us. What do you think they want? You're just farmers, we're not a threat. They won't just kill us, will they?
You're delusional. You think a soldier will show them mercy? Stop. We're gonna have to fight. I am a child of war. I find warriors to fight with us.
We might stand a chance.
We're searching for soldiers for a fight against another world.
I could help you. For a small fee, obviously. You don't want to hold on.
I'm here to make you an offer. To give you a chance at redemption.
We are beyond redemption.
What about revenge? This isn't just a pursuit of revolution.
I have found out. The most wanted fugitive in a known universe. It's a new age for the universe.
Wow, we need to talk. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, on Instagram Movies TV Mad X, on YouTube Movies TV Mad, and now on TikTok. Mick isn't perfect because Jesus Christ, is this geezer fucking flawed. Wow, what a full trailer we just got for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. This should have been The Force Awakens, everyone. This is what you do. A new universe, new threats, new characters, right? Because let's look at it. Let's look at Zack Snyder's female lead. She works. She looks freaking badass. All these men have complained about women beating, short women, right, small women beating up 6 foot well-built men, right? What we see in this trailer is, and I forgot the character's name, but this female is basically beating people with death moves. So a person can have skill in movement and beating someone if you're faster than the other person, right? Because what she's doing isn't really about strength. So I defy anyone to start getting upset because this woman is, beating up and killing men, basically. It's fine, right? This is what I'm saying to you. Zack Snyder gets it. He understood that Star Wars needed to move on from the Skywalkers. I love George's 6 movies. I love the Skywalker saga. But at the end of the day, it's done. Squeezing nostalgia out of Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and even Harrison Ford at the end of the day isn't the way to go. Because here's another thing as well. We're talking about Rebel Moon, but considering Rebel Moon was an original pitch for a Star Wars show, right, or movie, I think it was a TV show, right, we need to talk about this, right? George Lucas always planned 9 movies, a sequel trilogy. He always planned that. But once they threw that out, you had to throw out the Skywalkers as well. Because only George gets the Skywalker saga. Let's be honest. They made a mess of The Force Awakens. And what Zack Snyder's doing here is fresh, new, and exciting. And of course, you can see, to no surprise to me or anyone else, the movie looks stunning. It looks fantastic. The VFX looks great. The choreography, we've already discussed the fighting. Really, really good. And the premise seems really exciting. Did you see Ray Fisher there? It looks totally unrecognizable. Now, the guy in the hood and the beard, I forgot the actor's name. If you know me by now, you know I'm shit with names. I think we've got a kind of a Han Solo with that character, right? Which seems very, very interesting as well. But there's a diverse cast, right, in this movie of talented people. And there lies the difference between the Zack Snyder methodology and the Disney, Lucasfilm and Disney Marvel methodology, where basically their methodology is just bring anyone who's diverse in. Doesn't matter if they're talented or not. It's good to be seen, right? Where Zack's saying, I want a diverse cast, but they have to be talented, right? Because we are working with the art form. You know, we can't just throw anyone in there. And that's the point. I'm really looking forward to December the 22nd. For me, this is like the fever for the Snyder Cut, or Batman versus Superman, or even Man of Steel, me being a huge Superman fan. But this film has Zack Snyder written all over it. And this trailer absolutely rocked. It was brilliant. It was exciting. Junkie XL's music, everything. This is typical Zack Snyder. For those of you who don't like Zack, he's never going to change. He's always going to make the films the way he wants to make them. But us, his fans, like him that way. He likes these gladiatory battles. He likes the epicness. He loves the huge VFX. And the thing is, with him doing VFX, you know it's always going to look stunning. And there's the difference about that. But I think it's a very, very interesting film, considering that Star Wars is on its knees. And if this film was to start a franchise successfully, what would that say about Disney? Let's not forget, Lucasfilm rejected Zack's pitch. Rebel Moon, I'll repeat, was a Star Wars pitch originally. Thankfully for Zack, they rejected it, because I don't think it would have done him any favours. He would have ended up in the same shit show he was over at WB with DC. But now he's at Netflix, where he's creating his own world. It's so much more better for Zack Snyder to play in his own playhouse rather than somebody else's playhouse. It means he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And I think that's the thing there that I get. That's the positive. I think that this film should be released globally in theatres, that it should have a proper cinematic run. I think then it should come to Netflix afterwards. That's not going to happen. It's going to have a limited run in selected theatres. So it's not the same. But let's talk about this. If it did have a full release schedule in theatres, what would the box office be by the final day of reckoning? I believe that Rebel Moon could easily bring home $500 million globally, because it's a blockbuster in December, you know, and Rebel Moon and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom release around the same time, really. And it's going to be interesting where the hype's going to be. Now, you can watch Rebel Moon on Netflix at home, and if you really want to, you can go out and watch Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So I don't think one film stops you from watching the other. But it will be interesting, excuse me, to see which one the hype engine's around. I've got a feeling that it's going to be Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. This will be interesting. And it is ironic that they're both releasing around the same time, because if this film has more hype behind it and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is a flop, as we all think it's going to be, that will expose WB and their decision to remove Zack Snyder from the DCEU it makes it look even worse, right? It exposes WB as a bunch of idiots. Zack Snyder is thriving. He's doing very well, thank you very much, since leaving WB. He's done Army of the Dead. He's done spin-offs. He's done anime, I think. Has he done anime or did they cancel the anime? I can't remember. But he's doing well, right? I think they did cancel one of Snyder's plans. I think there's even problems with one of the games they're planning for Rebel Moon, if I remember. I did hear that Netflix cancelled something. Netflix are a studio as well and they make these decisions. But one thing's for sure, Rebel Moon is happening. We're getting it in December the 22nd. And that is very, very exciting for me and every Snyder fan and every lover of art. Because Snyder is art. Snyder is cinema. So this is why it's a big tragedy to me that we're not going to see this film on the big screen. It's even going to be, I think it's going to be in Netflix cinemas. I think there are Netflix theatres out there, I think. Even in London. But you have to be quick to get tickets. And I don't know where I'm going to be this Christmas. London, here in Cyprus, I'm just not sure at this moment in time. But one thing's for sure, I'm going to be watching this and re-watching this, and there will be, of course, a full review of this movie on this channel. And I can't wait to see this film. And what's even more exciting about this film, we already know we're going to get a Snyder cut of this film. I hear we're going to get a couple of extra cuts of this film as well. So I think there's a 4 hour, is there a 3 hour or 4 hour cut? Whatever it is, it's very exciting. And I'm going to be watching that and reviewing that as well, because that will make it really a different movie. But it's a very interesting film, because this film does what Disney have been trying to do for 5 or 6 years. Diverse filmmaking. That's what Rebel Moon is. We've already spoken about the diverse cast. But there's a difference in how Snyder's doing it here and how they're doing it. You won't be getting any nonsense in the marketing about toxic fandoms. You won't be hearing about racist fans in the marketing. Because the truth is that people are going to embrace it. You see, diversity is really not rocket science, everyone. Good diversity means basically casting and saying anyone can get this role. Black, Asian, white, anyone. And the best person who walks through that door gets the job. If you keep on doing that, then you're going to be diverse. Now, Zack Snyder obviously knew what he wanted in the female lead. And that's what he wanted, right? And she looks amazing, and her acting looks amazing, and I'm very excited to see her. Don't forget, it was Snyder who cast Gadot as Wonder Woman. Forget about her and what's going on politically right now, but she was perfect as his Wonder Woman, right? When she was under his influence, right? As Wonder Woman, she was at her best, because we know he ghost directed at least partially the first Wonder Woman movie. That's why she's so good. That's why she's so good in BVS, because he directed her. The Snyder Cut, that's why she's so good. The times where she's shit as Wonder Woman, Snyder wasn't involved. Recently, Shazam! Fury of the Gods cameo, the Flash movie cameo, she was shit, because Snyder had nothing to do with it. And this young actress again looks echoes of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Zack Snyder is very good at casting. It is shocking to me that Zack Snyder is derailed as a bad filmmaker. It's crazy to me that people mocked Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel. The man is an artist. The man knows how to make a film. We can nitpick about what he does, but at the end of the day, he has a unique style. And really, maybe this isn't the era for unique styles. But you know what? He would have been really successful in the 70s, in the 80s, 90s, and even the early noughties. But this is an era where one shoe fits all, and that's what lies the problem. You know, when we were getting the MCU and we were being told it's the best thing ever, everything should be like the MCU, and that's why Snyder had problems with his DCEU, because what he was doing was very, very unique. He's a great auteur, he's an artist, and finally he gets to play in his own den. And in this Rebel Moon trailer, you can see He's doing his own thing. The Rebel Moon is Zack Snyder unleashed, which is exactly what every Zack Snyder fan wants to see. And I, for one, am very, very excited to see how this plays out. I was very hyped seeing that trailer, and I'm going to see it again and again and again. It's so good. And when we were watching that together just earlier, I was thinking, Jesus Christ, this looks like a really good film. Not just a good visual film, not just a good, choreography and how it looks, but the story seems very, very compelling and interesting. This film seems to have a well-balanced aura around it. This is not just going to be a film that looks good. It's going to be a film that feels good, that gets you involved with the characters, and it looks very, very interesting. A lot of things have been said about Zack Snyder in the past. If you're watching this now and you don't like Zack Snyder, it's because he's different. And that's the problem we live in today's complicated, polarizing world. It seems like moviegoers are adverse to different, unique. Why is that? Why does everyone have to join the world of Kevin Feige and be colourful and boring and plastic and pre-packed? You can have that. You can absolutely have that shit if you want. But it doesn't mean everyone else has to do the same thing just because it used to make money. By the way, this ain't a video about the Marvels, but what a fucking disaster. And, as a Snyder fan who got a lot of shit during the MCU's peak, I couldn't be more happier. But we're here to talk about unique artwork. We're here to talk about Rebel Moon. And we haven't had a space opera, really, apart from Star Wars. And you can't call Disney Star Wars a space opera. No way. But what Lucas did was a space opera. And I believe that Zack Snyder had a great idea. Because I don't think this film we're seeing is that different to his original pitch for it, with it being a Star Wars show. It proves everything we know about Rebel Moon proves that Zack Snyder was right. And Lucasfilm was wrong to continue with the Skywalker saga, to use nostalgia, to translate, Filoni animation to live action. But this is how lazy Disney are. Zack Snyder here is taking some risks and gambles, right? Because let's just imagine we were watching a trailer for Star Wars, Rebel Moon, right? Let's just pretend. If I saw that, I would have said, fuck me. This is different. It doesn't exactly look like Star Wars, but yeah, Rebel Moon is exactly what Star Wars should be today. As I said earlier, it's exactly how The Force Awakens should have been. Now, The Force Awakens made $2 billion, and I get that. But it's about foundations. You could take $500 million away from that, but you could have had a healthier franchise going forward. They made $2 billion. They just about made $1 billion with the other two movies from the sequel trilogy, but they were divisive, especially the second one, right? But I just imagine Zack Snyder being in charge of Star Wars, right? And it would be interesting. But at the end of the day, we all know what would have happened. He would have been rejected. But I'm not going to change my mind. Snyder's idea to move away from the Skywalkers was absolutely right. And what we're seeing here is something incredibly special. What gives Zack Snyder an advantage with Rebel Moon? It's not Star Wars, so no one can have any preconceived ideas. People are already saying it's just like Star Wars. It's copying Star Wars. Well, it's not copying Star Wars. It's inspired by Star Wars, like Lucas's Star Wars was inspired by lots of different, iconic stories from before. And plus, it's going to feel a little bit Star Warsy because it was originally, as we've already said, a Star Wars pitch. Just shut your noise. Shut your noise. Watch it, don't watch it. We don't care. Because guess what? You're not going to be able to mock this film over box office numbers. It'll be interesting how this does on Rotten Tomatoes and think, you know, and all these meters. Not that I pay much notice because I think they're all corrupt sites and we should just cancel them totally. But it will be interesting what audiences, at the very least, say about Rebel Moon. And even though I hate modern day critics because they work off their own ideology and agenda rather than judging the art on the art that's in front of them. But it will be interesting to see what critics say and what fans say. I think people are going to like this movie at the very least. That, you know, just seeing that, it just looks amazing to me, and I think it's going to be very, very special. And then we're going to get the director's cuts as well. So very, very exciting. But yeah, Snyder is back. Snyder is on the rise. Snyder has always been on the rise since 300, by the way. He's always had his admirers. Me, you, and the sensible people in the house have always known that Zack Snyder's special. And as we go on and on and on, those DC movies that he made are going to age ever so well. Because we're getting a new DC universe and people are going to be judging James Gunn on what Zack Snyder did. But when something different comes out, it takes time for people to get it, to understand it. But here's the thing, Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman is getting more and more admirers all the time. So that's interesting. But, you know, you can't keep a good man down. Zack Snyder went through the mill after Batman vs Superman was released. It was so polarizing. It upset people. It also thrilled people at the same time. Everyone had an opinion about Batman vs Superman. And Zack claims he embraces things like that. He likes people talking about his movies, whether it's, you know, negative or positive, which of course is a very, very interesting way to look at things. But some of the things said about him were utterly disgusting. The bullying that Snyder fans faced during Batman vs Superman was horrible. And this is why a lot of Snyder fans, not a lot, but some, can be toxic at times because of the bullying that we faced. So I get it, but there's never any excuse to bully anyone. Stay in your lane, love what you love, don't worry about everything else. But this is a film I believe we're going to enjoy together and be talking about for many, many years. This has always been the highlight of the release calendar for me. I think about Oppenheimer, which is a great movie, and Barbie, which everyone's been talking about, but still something missing. And I think what's missing here is a fantasy epic. And Zack Snyder is about to give that to us. So I'm very, very excited, everyone, to see this film. I'm hyped. You know, stories, moving pictures are my life. As sad and as pathetic as that sounds, I love a good movie. I love a good story. I love a great musical score. We have got a conglomeration of talented people involved in Rebel Moon. But at the head of the line is Mr. Zack Snyder. And I've always loved what he's given me. Love 300. I love Watchmen. I love his DCEU trilogy. Everything he does. Army of the Dead was great. Not classic, but great. I really enjoyed that. He is an amazing director. He's an amazing storyteller. He tells stories in very, very different ways. But this is something that I think this film is his destiny, I think. This is something, you know, this is something that the audience, even if you're not a Snyder fan, this is something that you, the audience, have been hungry for a very long time. Because films are not made on these parameters anymore, sadly. They're made on ideology. The sad thing is that great imagination and storytelling can entertain and educate and heal a wounded world. It's done it before, so many times. The problem is Hollywood's heart is in the right place, but they're going about representation and inclusion and education in the wrong way. And they're creating a divide in the consumer base. But a film like this can entertain and educate and show you the positives of representation and inclusion in film. This film has it in its bags full, right? But you can see everyone in this film, every diverse actor in this film deserves to be there, not on their culture, not on their marginalized community, but because they were the best people for the job. Ray Fisher is a really, really good actor, right? So the brown people, the white people, everyone there deserves their roles, and behind the scenes as well. So if you want to make diverse content, diverse art, this is how you do it. But this is how Zack Snyder's always done it. So to me as a DC fan, I'm very sad that this man isn't running a little franchise, not finishing what he started. But I've always got those 3 films, haven't I? We're lucky he even ever made 3 DC movies. Very lucky. And now he's putting his mind to Star Wars, right? Because as we say, this was an original Star Wars pitch. This is a space opera, and this is one of 2. And if this one succeeds and the second one succeeds, who knows where else we could go with this. He's a very, very, unique filmmaker, as we've already said. He does things in a different way. But if you're someone who appreciates the unique way he tells his stories, then you're lucky, because I do as well. And when you watch a Zack Snyder film, it takes your breath away if you appreciate that kind of thing. His films are breathtaking. And I think they're the way. Again, I'm not saying that everyone should make films like Zack Snyder, but once you've seen a Zack Snyder film, you really feel like you've experienced something. When I came out of Man of Steel, I was breathless. When I came out of Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, I was emotionally drained. It was that good. The way he makes films does this to you. And I have no doubt it will be the same with Rebel Moon. And, I can feel the hype around the Snyderverse fandom, which is great. But there's something very, very interesting that's happening with Rebel Moon. There's people, there's cinephiles. There's fans that wouldn't normally touch Zack Snyder with a barge pole saying, this has the potential to be great. And I'm hoping it fulfills that potential, because this is a huge moment for Zack Snyder to put himself on the map. Because if Zack Snyder succeeds with Rebel Moon, he's going to be getting a hell of a lot of offers. Zack Snyder's talent was meant for cinema, not for streaming. But I'm happy it's on Netflix so early because, it's easier for me, right, to watch it at home because I'm very, very busy. Obviously, I'd rather it be in the cinema. That's where you should be watching Zack Snyder films. In cinema, he was born to make cinematic movies. He has a beautiful eye. Some people say he has 2. But he is a genius. For me, he's a genius. That's, even someone like James Cameron in the past has said he's great. But I think he is great. And I think his films are great if they're your cup of tea. If they're not your cup of tea, you don't have to watch them. That's the beauty of entertainment. No one has got a gun to your head. No one is forcing you to watch anything you don't want to do. So there's no need for you to shit on Zack Snyder's work. But I feel a different environment and a different atmosphere to this Zack Snyder release because this is not part of an iconic property, a pre-existing property. Everyone can come in and just judge it on the film that they see. And I think when you can do that, and it's very difficult these days, there's so many reboots, relaunches, and, IPs, that you can't do that. And there's a freshness about coming in and watching a film that you can just say, right, I don't know these characters. I've never heard of these characters. Let's just judge them on what they are. Yeah, let's judge this film on what it is. We've got nothing to compare this film to. I know some people will compare it to Disney Star Wars. I mean, look, if you're going to compare it to Disney Star Wars, which is shit, Zack Snyder has already got a leg up. But as I say, if this film is as good as I suspect it is and the buzz I'm getting from the industry about it, then this film will expose Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm for rejecting Zack Snyder's Star Wars pitch in the first place.